There's a psychology to this, and we don't want to do the thing of taking millions of people and saying they all have the same motivation, but political scientists study this. Paranoid style in American politics, pre-internet emphasis on the political potency of conspiracy theories, particularly when they dovetail with a wider kind of extreme rabbit or messianic view of things. The problem for a lot of Trump followers is they've had to spend a lot of time minimizing everything from him saying on tape that he would grab people without consent, to other allegations that you can debate because they were litigated but were not easy to swallow when you look at how much evidence there was. How do you square that? And I want to read from a New York Times essay by Michelle Goldberg, brand new, and she notes that the fantasy of Trump for them as this warrior against sex trafficking, which is part of the deep state idea that you guys mentioned, is a way for followers to manage cognitive dissonance about his personal degeneracy, is how Michelle Goldberg puts it, to believe that they are on the side of light. While championing a man of such low character, Trump's acolytes have had to conjure an enemy of vast, titanic evil. This is the conspiracy that goes beyond, of course, Epstein's proven horrors, but the idea that there's entire governments and secret cabals behind it. She continues, quote, among those on the right who believe there's an Epstein cover-up, few seem to be entertaining the idea that Trump is protecting himself. That would require a reevaluation of his integrity and their own judgment. But they still take for granted that Epstein was trafficking girls to powerful men and then blackmailing those men, that he was killed so he couldn't talk. That hasn't been proven. There's just questions about that. And she continues, quote, now they have to figure out why Trump won't give them the information they long for. Maya?
Well, 26 women who had credible claims against Donald Trump. I say that because this will be the big test, is will this translate into, if we are actually concerned about what is in whatever information exists, what will they say about Donald Trump, or will they only stick to Kash Patel or Pam Bondi or whoever the people are who are at the front of the administration calling for her resignation, as if by replacing her, someone who Donald Trump put in place because of her willingness to do as she was told by Donald Trump. Replacing her does not suggest that they will get something different necessarily, because the buck will stop with Donald Trump. That's bad for democracy. That's bad for transparency. That's bad for everyone. But in this case,
and by the way, you're speaking to something we see in politics. I'm not making a false equivalency, but there are people who are hardcore New Jersey Democrats, and when they first heard bad things about Bob Menendez, they said, well, they didn't want to believe it. We had a process. We had evidence. He was convicted by a jury of his peers and then was punished for it, and eventually reality has to take hold. Do you have any sliver of hope that, at least for some people, this process might open their eyes back up to the things we've all been talking about, that democracy has to have truth as a baseline, whether that's because you want higher immigration or lower immigration? We need a factual democracy community.
We need a fact-based democracy, because you can't make decisions without facts. The only way we get to where we think we can be as a country, which is one based on truth, facts, and transparency of government and its accountability to us, is if we do that. We are not going to get that from Donald Trump. We are not going to get that just from influencers. There are more bots on the internet than humans. We have to start back with this very basic point. If we allow anybody in public office to not be accountable to us, we will not have a democracy. But we are the ones who have to show up and have this discussion and say, doesn't matter who you voted for. What matters is you have a person in office who promised you transparency and did not give it to you. Pam Bondi herself said, the files are on my desk. They're coming. Had influencers, Donald Trump had influencers come and say, we're going to do this. So yes, accountability means that we have to understand anybody has to be accountable.
I would just add, I think the biggest problem for Trump has been how he's dealt with this, right? He usually has a sort of incredible ability to see what his base wants and deliver it. And he really was sort of caught flat-footed. Now we're seeing them sort of try to shift the blame on Bondi. And Bondi did put out these binders that were labeled phase 1, which makes a person think there might be a phase 2,
Binders
phase 3.
full of phases. Sure.
Right. Binders filled with easily Googleable information.
I have to fit in more stuff. So I want to say both of you have really enlightened us because you've also broadened this out to the stakes, even again separate from the underlying case.